Hi everyone, my name is Dave Burnett and I work in global procurement here in Somers. Last year I led Movember in Chicago and was transferred here last spring. I'm sorry I'm not able to be here in person today, but I wanted to take a few minutes to tell you my story and why your support of Movember is so important. If you paid any attention to cancer statistics this Movember, you know that prostate cancer is as prevalent in men as breast cancer is with women, but without the publicity and the fundraising, at least until now with Movember. 1 in 6 men will get it at some point in their lives. Most cases are of a relatively slow-growing type, which often arises in older men. The problem is that when it occurs in younger men like myself, it can be a virulent form that will kill if left untreated. The treatment dilemma then becomes that today there is no test to reliably confirm which version you have, but there is hope as genetic research is underway that I believe will, within the next 3 to 5 years, tell you which type you have, which will make treatment choices much easier. The dollars you've raised this Movember are critically needed to advance this research. I want to take this opportunity to thank each of you for all of your efforts this month, for everything you've done in support of Movember. It's really been a huge success, both in terms of the fundraising and in raising awareness of men's health issues. So let me tell you my story. Once I turned 40, mostly in response to my wife's prodding, I became fairly diligent about getting physicals. In November 2009, I went in for one. The doctor then sent the summary in the mail, which in the holiday rush that year, I just glanced at it and filed it away. 6 months later, I got a follow-up call from my doctor reminding me to come in for a follow-up PSA blood test, as he had noted a concern on rising PSA levels in the November letter. In retrospect, it was probably good that I didn't notice this at the time because it eliminated a lot of worry. But now I had an immediate concern. I went for the blood test, and again the levels were low but rising at a concerning rate. So a biopsy was ordered, which then confirmed a diagnosis of prostate cancer. As you can imagine, a cancer diagnosis is a real bombshell for anyone. It was especially so for me since I had no physical symptoms at all. I felt great and I was in great shape as I was then in training with my son to cycle 442 miles across Iowa in RAGBRAI 2010. After a lot of research and consultations with a series of doctors to understand the risks and potential complications of a variety of treatment options, my wife and I decided to go for the surgical solution, which all the experts agree is the gold standard treatment option for prostate cancer. And by gold standard, they mean the option that gives you the highest probability of a complete cure if detected early enough. There is an unusual backstory to my story, and one that makes me feel that I'm meant to share this story. 25 years ago or so, my dad was recruited to participate in a medical research study at St. Louis University that led to the development of the PSA blood test for the detection of prostate cancer. The doctor leading this research was Dr. William Catalona. Once my wife and I chose the surgical option, our research quickly led us to Dr. Catalona, now at Northwestern University in Chicago. Isn't it odd that my father participated in a study which developed a test that may have ultimately saved my life? Now, Dr. Catalona leads a world-renowned research and surgical team focused entirely on prostate cancer research and surgery. I'm now participating in a couple of his studies, trying to pay it forward just as my dad did for me. I should also point out that if you're facing prostate cancer surgery, you need to track down and get to the best doctors in the world for it. Surgical experience is critical to a positive outcome, and you don't want to be the guy providing that experience to a surgeon that doesn't do more than a handful of these every year. My doctor does 8 surgeries a week and has done over 5,600 in his career. He's done cancer surgeries for Joe Torre, Jim Boeheim, and a bunch of other celebrities. I believe he's the best in the world, but if he's not, I can tell you there are only a handful of surgeons in the world today that you should ever consider undertaking this surgery with. And don't be razzle-dazzled by robotic surgery. The robot is no better than the surgeon operating it, and the data so far says you don't want to be the guy building his robotic surgery experience. And while I'm offering advice, I should comment on the recent controversy about whether or not men should routinely undergo PSA testing, the concern being that it can lead to unnecessary worry and treatment. Obviously, my opinion is biased by my experience, but my point of view is that if a test is available that can flag a life-threatening risk early enough to allow a complete cure, I'd want to take that test and establish a baseline to track against in future years. The decision to test or not is really between you and your doctor. So just make sure whichever choice you make that you made it and it wasn't made for you without your consent one way or the other. So back to the story. I had every cancer screening, CAT scan, bone scan, and test known to medical science, and then went with my son and completed the ride across Iowa as planned, followed by surgery in August 2010, returning to work 13 days later. I'd be lying to you if I said this ordeal was fun, but fortunately the post-surgery pathology report showed that it was detected early and had not spread. So here I am today, nearly 2.5 years later, completely cancer-free with essentially no negative side effects. Prostate cancer is the second leading cause of cancer death in men, but I'm living proof that an annual physical with PSA blood testing allows early detection, treatment, and believe me, a much happier outcome. Early detection saves lives, so guys, eat right, quit smoking, get in shape, get your physical every year, preferably with a PSA test, and start taking better care of yourselves. Your families love you and need you. If you have any questions about anything I've said, I'd be happy to speak to you later privately. Again, thank you everyone for all your work in support of Movember this year. It is making a big difference. Thanks for listening and enjoy the rest of today's Movember festivities.